Hey patrons, Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics here with a quick little video. This one's kind of born from kind of a confluence of occurrences that have kind of come together over the last couple of days. And it's very interesting, and I love the way that this kind of presents itself as an opportunity for me to discuss some things with you guys. So last weekend, week before last, depending on how you want to break that down, I was at Cincinnati Comic Expo, and I met an up-and-coming writer who reached out to me today with a very awesome question, and the question was about page rates, specifically for writers. We met specifically, like really had the chance to talk specifically after my VIPs, the self-publishing panel. And one of the things that I talk about, like issue or part number 3, is page rates and budgets and things like that. How for myself, I don't ask an artist what their page rate is. I find that that doesn't quite like give us like the right understanding or platform to really get work done. In fact, what I find is better is for me to have a budget in mind of what I can spend or am willing to spend on a project and ask an artist, are they willing to do that? Now, it's up to them to figure out whether or not what breaks down to their page rate is sufficient, but asking them directly, like, what's your page rate, doesn't speak to what I have in my pocket. It's easier for me to say, this is what I have for this project. This is what I can allocate. This is what I can spend. Yes or no? But he asked the question on a flip, like, as a writer, maybe like I should be hired for something. Should I have a page rate? And it's interesting because when it comes down to this conversation, that's not something that happens a lot. We don't necessarily get commissioned as writers in the small press market, as opposed to in the bigger, larger market, Marvel, Image, DC, not Image, sorry, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, places like that. And to that end, I think that it's important for a lot of writers to recognize that initially, you will probably be designated your page rate. They will say, we're going to pay you this much money, yes or no. In the same way that I'm talking about doing, which is part of the reason why I do that, because it gives you more experience and closer to the process of when you're working for a larger publisher, is they don't necessarily go, hey, how much do you want to get paid? They go, we will pay you this much based on your experience in this marketplace. But it sparked something really interesting, and this is where all of it all kind of comes together. I have found that in a very funny sort of way, I am most clever, ingenious even, if I can be so bold, when I'm helping somebody else. When I'm coming up with something for someone else, I am really quick, really good, and I can come up with some pretty cool things rather than when I'm sitting there thinking about it for myself. And I don't necessarily know why that is. Well, no, I take that back. Part of why I think that is one, I do believe that what we do as creatives is a form of magic. I believe in magic, definitely. And I firmly believe in the idea that you're not to use your magic for your own benefit. Like, not really. Like, you're not supposed to do that. It's an old witches sort of rule. And I ascribe to that, okay? I think it's very safe, because if you do that for yourself, if you try to use your magic for your own personal benefit, it comes back on you as a negative 3 times as bad. Maybe that's some old juju, but it's how I feel, right? So whenever someone asks me a question that will innately benefit them, I'm probably like a million times faster, better even, at wielding my creative magic in their favor. And this was something that kind of popped up, and I was really excited about it. So much so in the unconventional group that I run, which again is kind of a place for other creatives to kind of chat and share different unconventional ideas. I brought up that this is this phenomenon for me, that when I'm asked to help someone else, way more creative, in my opinion, in the efforts to help them than I necessarily am in my own exploits. But this one was just a fun sort of idea. And I kind of want to bring it to you guys to let you know, like, I might play with this. I might actually use this for myself because I think it's something interesting. And that is to market yourself in the same way of selling a service. Yes, I have a skill. As a writer, I believe I'm very skilled at writing. But to write for someone else, I'm providing a service. And to be competitive in a lot of markets, you have to do certain sales gimmicks in order to make people pick you over anybody else that they could pick. You have to sometimes do a gimmick. You'll see things where mattresses, right? Okay, they're selling a thing, but to sell you a mattress is the service. And so in order to do so, maybe they'll say they'll take a couple $100 off, your order, right? If you order online or if you order in a store or something like that. You get get a month or so free as a service if it's a subscription or something like that. They're going to give you something to entice you to be on board for long term. And I think that's kind of one of those interesting sort of things where in the small press market, we don't think long term. We are in the moment, in the right now. I got to get this job. I got to get this gig, get this book. And then as soon as that's done, I got to get it again. Like, I got to do it with somebody else. But what happens if you actually set yourself up creatively, financially speaking, to be somebody whose services are always invoked. People always want to try you out, or in some way, shape, or form, just to kind of see what they can do with you. Does that change anything? Does it, what does that do? What I proposed was something as simple as first page is $1. The framework for what the guy asked me was in certain Facebook groups and places like that that are meant to connect people, you are supposed to come in with a page rate. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But what happens when your experience changes, your prospect, if your position changes, if something happens that you've worked on something and it pops really big, should you be beholden to a set price rate? And can somebody scroll back to them like, oh, well, you only charge this much at this point? Like, what does that do? It kind of creates a little animosity, having people clash, and I'm not for that. I don't want that at all. I would rather have just more positivity and actual creativity happening. So the idea is I will write your first thing, whatever the first page is, for $1. If you like it, then we can talk about what else we're going to do. But it's only going to cost you $1, and it's only going to cost me a page. And that's not a lot. That's certainly not a lot. And we can really kind of get into the framework of, if you're interested in such a thing, what does that say about me as a creative? One, it shows that I have some personality. I'm not just a stick in the mud. I'm not just in it for the money. And in fact, if I'm really going to take on this job, I have to have an interest in it, because I'm willing to write at least one page of content for $1. It's not going to be about the money. I have to want to do this project. So I could very well go, it's not for me. I'm not interested. I don't want that story, or I'm not connecting to it. So nah, I pass. And I'm curious as to how many people would actually utilize this as a basis for their serviceable skill sets. Could you actually market yourself by saying, hey, I'm the guy that, first page is $1. Would people naturally try you out? Because it's not going to cost that much. It's just $1. It's just $1. Coffee is more expensive than that. And what will that do? So, I know that he's going to be able to see this because he's one of our patrons, which I appreciate. And I hope that he's encouraged to take that idea and run with it. Like, really try to explore, it's not just a matter of how much money you want to make, but also kind of like being that hook that will get you more commission work. Like, that's the thing. I think there's a lot of creatives out there that believe they have a skill set and therefore have a value that they've applied to that skill set, but they're not quite thinking in terms of the outcome sales factor for that skill set. Like, yes, you are phenomenally skilled, but the end result, we only sell for $5. You got to think about that. And again, if I'm diminishing how much you have to invest initially, it makes it easier for return pieces. So again, instead of that, I got to get this job like right now, it is, if it's only $1 to start, right? And maybe it's per issue, right? So the first issue, I can get started for $1, boom, and we'll see where that goes. I think there's a lot of room to play with that, and I plan on trying it out. And I hope that any of you that are creatives have a question, feel free to ask me, because literally, like I said, the light bulb turns on better when I'm helping other people than when I'm working for myself. So anything that I can throw out for you, obviously, I would hope that I could use something like that for myself. But again, the real inspiration really kind of hits me when I'm working on problem solving for other people. So if you have any questions like that, feel free to ask, because I think it's a brilliant thing. We should have more conversations like this, and I would love it. Like, how many people would jump on yo, he's only charging $1 for the first page? Let me try that out. And what's the worst scenario? Like, I get a series of one-page pieces that I've started. I've gotten paid $1 for it. Maybe, if it doesn't work out, I can do something with that. It depends on, what the agreements are. But I think that is the case. To stake it out where you get that first intro piece, $1 for the first page, and then we can negotiate the rest after that. But you can get at least $1 or one page out of me for $1. And I think that's kind of a fun thing. Who knows? We'll see where that goes. But I just wanted to drop that in here and kind of, get people talking, get people expressing their ideas in terms of, the creative process, the financial side of the creative process, and where that all fits. I do want to point out that this graphic right here is a celebration of 10 years of Vantage in House Productions. October 8th, we celebrate 12 years of being in this business, which is kind of crazy. I can't even believe that it's been so quickly happening. I will be celebrating at New York Comic Con, where I go every year. It's actually when I quit my job working for the state and to make comics full time, I hopped on a train and went to New York Comic Con for the very first time. And this is how I celebrate being a full time comic book creator, and have done so for the last 12 years. So if you are in New York, please, please, please find me on the 8th, dap me up, give me a hug. I might have a button that says it's my birthday, because it is VIP's birthday, and I like to celebrate that. But thank you so very much for checking out this video. And again, share your thoughts. I want to hear them all. Would you jump at such a thing? Do you think that that has a negative side? Like, if you find there's a negative, let's talk about it, because I want to hear that. This is, again, a sounding board both ways. It's not just me telling you stuff. I want to hear from you as well. So thank you guys so very much for checking out this video. Thank you always for being my patrons. I love you so very much, and let's just make some more cool stuff. See you.